Joining me now, South Carolina gubernatorial candidate. Let's get him up on the phone. All
Good
right,
morning.
Mr. Reddy, Ron Reddy. Welcome to the Tara
How are you,
Show.
Tara? Thank you. My daughter's name is Tara as well, so easy to remember.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah, great choice there. All right. Well, let's dive right in because I'm looking at your platform that you're running on, and it reminds me a lot of Florida. In fact, it's exactly what's been done in Florida, what's been going on in Florida that it's resulted, quite frankly, into the transfer of a lot of Wall Street down to Florida because they like it there now. And I know you're a CEO. Tell us a little bit about this. You're saying you will eliminate the income tax right away by cutting costs.
Well, Tara, let me just say something. You mentioned Florida. Ron DeSantis and Casey DeSantis are family friends of ours, and I really believe he's the best governor in the country. He's just done a phenomenal job over there. So I think for us, I want to say something a little broader than cut tax or this and that. We'll come to that in a second. But I think what's happened, Tara, is that money and power has slowly shifted from the citizen to government. It's happened. It's happened over some time, and now we don't even recognize it. Money and power has shifted over to the government, and we've got to shift it back, or we're going to lose the state. If you just look at what's going on in government, we're over collecting. Our spending has doubled, literally doubled at the state level. What people don't know is the spending has doubled at the local level. And so, if any of your listeners can say over the last 10 years that all of these people have been in office, Yvette, Norman, Mace, all of these people, spending has doubled. Local spending has doubled. Education, roads, median family income, healthcare all remain near the bottom nationally, but taxes are going up to keep up with the spending. We're now the highest tax red state, income tax red state in the nation, property tax at a life sentence. In the private sector, leadership is fired. Over here, they want a promotion. I've never heard of anything like this. Why would you promote these people when nothing has changed? What has changed is all of their donors and all of their special interests have benefited tremendously, like the $500 million office deal, lease deal they gave to the biggest donor of the Republican Party a year and a half ago. This system is broken, Tara. It cannot be fixed. It has to be shrunk. Government has to be shrunk and rebooted. So I'm happy to talk about taxes and tell you what our thoughts are on that. If you want me to elaborate a little bit on it.
Yeah, sure. Start with this. Property tax on cars and trucks must be eliminated, you said?
Must be eliminated. The property tax is out of control. Our local spending was $19 billion in 2019. It's $30 billion this year. Where is it going? It's going to all of property tax, by the way, doesn't go to the state. It goes to local school districts and local municipalities. So what have we done with local school districts? The spending in local school districts has grown from $11 billion in 2019, not that long ago, to $17 billion. Now, administrators exceed the teachers in the system. The average administrator makes $50,000 more than the average teacher. And you wonder why property taxes keep going up. They have to keep funding this thing. This whole that the system and the state government has taken their hands off the wheel. They somehow wrongly believe that local governments are sovereign. They're not. Local governments were created by the state, and they're accountable to the state. And as DOGE SC, when I founded DOGE SC, we created a simple tool, a AI-based forensics audit tool that just simply goes in there and says, where's the money coming from and where is it going to? I can do it in 2 days. But I'll tell you what will happen. If I walk into your local city and say, I'm going to do it, they're going to say, home rule. You can't do that. I'm going to say, really? Okay. Then you rule your home, but we're going to cut off state funds starting tomorrow because I have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer. These people in office, they don't understand that, Tara. They've never run anything. They don't understand the fiduciary responsibility. They've never governed. Norman says he's not a politician. I'm an outsider. He's been there for 20 years. His skills are from 25 years ago. It's like having a cell phone from 25 years ago. Nancy, of course, has never governed. Pamela ran a payroll processing company. So if you didn't want to do your payroll in-house, we went to her and said, would you do it for 0.5%? And if you had $100 million payroll, she counts that as part of her company. So that's why she says, I'm a $1 billion company. She's not a $1 billion company. These people make up all these stories. They try to fool the public. The public simply needs to say, has my life changed in the last 10 years? And if so, vote for them. But if your life hasn't changed, just know that the spending has doubled. And I'll tell you, some of the spending is crazy, Tara. I mean, the social services, 120 million to 333 million. Commerce, 27 million to 371 million. Parks and Recs, you and I love parks. I don't have anything against parks. We spent $48 million 10 years ago, $220 million. And my favorite, higher education, $700 million 10 years ago, $1.8 billion. Who are we educating? Well, we're not educating anyone. We're creating administrators. And of course, we need a board to oversee the higher education, which is $100 million a year. And someone says, well, but I prefer technical education. Okay, we got you covered. We got a technical comprehensive education board for $260 million a year. These people are out of control. They have never governed, and they're addicted to opium. People say, opium, that's a drug. I said, no, it's OPM, other people's money. They're literally addicted to opium. That's what we have. So these are all of my opponents, 53 years in office. And now, I don't know if you're following what's going on, this dark money coming in, Tara, $6.9 million of PAC money. And South Carolina is 40 out of 50 in campaign disclosure laws, which means that it's like a blind date. I used to do this in college. You go and you vote for someone in November, and you have no idea who bought and paid for them. No idea. 60% of the money in some cases for these campaigns are coming from this dark money, which is why the whole system is so corrupt, and also why I do not take $1 of donations, first time in the history of this state.
So you're running your campaign entirely, you're self-funding your entire campaign, Ron Reddy?
100%. I don't even take money from individuals. My consultants say, you can take from I said, you know what? The first thing I'm going to do is change these disclosure laws. It can be changed by simple legislative process. But I said, I compromise myself if I'm part of the system. So people always say, oh, it's like a rich guy trying to buy the offices. What am I buying? I don't have any business interests. I sold my last business in 23. I'm not buying anything. I'm trying to keep the office from being bought. For the first time in, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 decades, that office is bought and paid for before you even know it. You can look at, Pamela's donors are all McMaster's donors, the people who got the office building leases, the people who are on these boards at the Sandy Cooper and the ports, the people who are, it is the casino people. They're all part of this. And people have got to say, enough is enough. They said it with Donald Trump at the federal level because it was obvious. It was obvious that the federal government is ready to go over the cliff with auto pen Biden. Here, it is more dangerous because it's hidden. And a lot of what you're seeing right now is all, look, a lot of these people in the legislature, they're all ex-Democrats trying to pretend they're Republicans. We know that. And now you don't have any leadership. Does anyone know where Henry McMaster is? No, he's picking out his pocket kerchief for tomorrow's ribbon cutting.
Rum Reddy, we're at the end of the segment. Can you hang on and do another segment?
Sure.
All right. We'll be right back with Rum Reddy for governor. Just a sec. Gubernatorial candidate Rum Reddy on the Tara Show. And I have a question for him. You say you want to eliminate property tax on cars and trucks. How are you going to do that? What will you replace the income with, and how will you get it done?
So, Tara, this is what all of us have been programmed to believe. I'm just going to give you a simple example. So you got a 2-income family, and you decide that one of you is going to stay at home and take care of the kids, right? So you lose one income. What would you do? You wouldn't go find a girlfriend or a boyfriend to replace that income. you would go cut your costs. You would go cut your expenses. So these politicians have programmed us to believe that if you cut one thing, you got to replace it with another tax. It's a lie. So Ron DeSantis, you mentioned him earlier, he spends $2,300 per person per year less than we do per citizen. And he's got better roads, better schools, less crime, and better education, and no income tax. We have a out of control spending problem, which is what I've been saying. We've doubled our spending. So I actually have a plan that takes all of these agencies, by the way, we have 101 of them, to 35. And we got to get rid of these boards. I talked about the boards, $100 million board, to, some other $260 million board. And then we got to get out of things the government doesn't belong in. We got to privatize the Governor's School of Arts. We got to privatize MUSC and hospitals and clinics. Research is fine to keep it in the government. And all of this money has to go into a citizen trust fund, and we need to start rebating it to the taxpayer in year one. I mean, literally, we need to take it out of government, start giving it back to the taxpayer. And when we get to about a $4 billion thing, which we're going to get to very quickly, then we get rid of the income tax. The same thing with property tax. We've got to cut our expenses. The property tax is being driven by local spending and local school spending. I mean, these people, Tara, you should just, I'm familiar. I buy businesses, I fix them up. So I go look at these financial statements. First of all, evil resides in complexity. They're very complex. But if you actually dig into them, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked at what you see. You'll be shocked at what you're seeing. But going to administrators, going to nonprofits, doing all kinds of crazy things. It is a total addiction to OPM, other people's money.
Ron, Reddy, real quick, want to ask you this, if you don't mind, just want to make sure we get in there. So I love your platform. Income tax eliminated, property tax on cars and trucks eliminated, cutting it down from 150 agencies, you say, to 35. But 35. This is a weak, and I love to see somebody do what you're describing, but the counter argument would be this is a weak governor state, one of the weakest, in fact. In many cases, all you'll have is the bully pulpit. How will you get this out of control legislature, which, as you correctly noted earlier, these are Democrats that run as Republicans. How are you going to get them to do what you want?
Well, first of all, let me just tell you, we just passed judicial reform in the House this year. As a citizen, I've got all 85 Republicans supported. These are people who wouldn't even talk to each other. Freedom Caucus, Maine Caucus, Family Caucus. And so, but this is also a lie that, we have the governor has no powers, because these governors, they don't know how to govern. They want the pomp and pageantry. Let me tell you something. The governor in this state has line item veto power that the president doesn't have. But apparently he can't uphold it. To uphold it, you need 1/3 of the House or 1/3 of the Senate. So you can uphold a line item veto in a supermajority state? That's not a system problem. That's a leadership problem. And what do they tell you? They say, the power's on the legislature because of a black person ever became governor. We want to make sure that they don't have. Oh, BS. The Constitution itself doesn't allow that. Article 4 of the South Carolina Constitution says the governor is the supreme executive authority in the state. The problem is we have people in there who don't know how to govern. And they just want to either run for president or they just want to be governor, and that's what you have. So they just say, we're weak, we can't do anything. I promise you we will govern. We also need to do what the president is doing. The president is challenging Article 2 powers, which is executive authority at the federal level. So I'm going to walk into some of these boards and I'm going to say, you're fired. They're going to say, you can't fire me. We're part of the legislature. So I just did. Take me to court. And we have to uphold it in court, because remember how the Constitution was set up. 3 co-equal branches. That was the whole, if you read the Federalist Papers and all that, that's the heart of our Constitution. So government keeps each branch in check and the people are free. That's how we built the greatest, wealthiest, strongest nation in the world. And what's happened now, it started Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson actually said these are his words, not mine. He said, Americans are selfish, ignorant, stubborn, and they need to be ruled by an administration. And he created this 4th branch, unelected government agencies, and South Carolina has put it on steroids. So now we are ruled. You go to family court, it's state sanctioned criminal extortion is what's going on in family courts. It's horrible what we're doing to people. And it's not the people like me or who are maybe connected or wealthy. It's the people who don't have a voice. We are killing them, Tara. They're afraid of their government. And when you're afraid of your government, it's tyranny.
And real quick, well, you're talking about court. I want to get to this because you're kind of getting at judicial reform. You say so the legislators do not pick judges. That's been a big beef on this show. It's a disaster because they're all from the big law firms. And so those judges do whatever they want when they appear before the judges. You say you're going to eliminate that. It's in the state constitution that legislators appoint them. How will you make that change?
Oh, no, it's not in the state constitution. We actually passed the legislation in the House, and we got the 27 out of 32 senators to support it. One guy, Luke Rankin, like you said, bad guy. I just had to hear an ad for Lindsey Graham, not a bad guy. But, Luke Rankin, basically ex-Democrat, as a Judiciary Committee head, holds it up. And that's when I decided I can't fix this from the outside. I got to get on the inside. That's a simple Senate rule change that says you cannot be a chair of a committee for life. You serve 2 years and you get out. By the way, the Constitution does not say that. The Constitution says JMSC picks the judges. It doesn't say who should be on the JMSC. What these guys have done is they put themselves on the JMSC. The legislature has. So this law we passed simply says JMSC continues to pick the judges in compliance with the Constitution, but legislatures and their next of kin cannot serve on JMSC. That is the most you can do without a constitutional amendment. So when these people talk about, let's go do something else, you need a constitutional amendment.
I hear why it is in the Constitution, because who would you then replace on the JMSC if it can't be legislators or their family members? How are you going to? In other words, we don't vote for them. Is what I'm saying. Well, how are you going to ensure that we have? Hold on. How are you going to ensure then that non-corrupt people are on the JMSC? You're going to throw out legislators. It's a good start, and I supported that when they tried to run it through the legislature. But that's still the legislature having the power here. Who are you going to put on that committee then? That's going to be honest. How will you do that?
Well, I'm going to tell you that's the law that was passed. The executive branch and the governor appoints the members of the JMSC. Of course, you have to have a do-nothing. We have a do-nothing governor right now. But the governor appoints the members of the JMSC. The JMSC picks the judges, and the judges then that they pick have to be ratified by the entire legislature, not by a small group of loyal legislators who are on JMSC, 12 of them actually. And so it goes back to the Constitution. It says one branch picks, the other branch approves, and you got a separation of powers. This, I'm telling you, it'll revolutionize what we can do. Right now, it's a disaster. And a lot of this stuff, Tara, exactly how we do it, no one has done this. If you go to readyforgovernor.com, on the policy, I have a 12-page newspaper. You can actually download it. It tells you what things we're going to do, what my principles are, and how to do it. It actually talks about it. No one has done that. People who see that said, we've never seen that in our entire life. It's on the website. You can actually download the newspaper. So I'm just going to say one last thing. Leadership is having a set of principles you do not bend on, having bold actions that fit those principles, and understanding you're going to take incoming fire. And unfortunately, these politicians, their view of principles is, well, I have principles. If you don't like them, I have others.
Right. And I mean, I'm reading the state constitution right now. The final vote by the legislature is already a thing, actually. So what would stop the governor then from, appointing all his friends, maybe even legislators to the bench, and then the legislature approves them again like they are right now?
He can't approve legislatures. He cannot put legislators banned. The governor cannot put legislators or their next of kin. So he can put police officers. He can put other law enforcement, but not legislators. And then if this JMSC picks horrible people, the entire General Assembly will keep rejecting them.
And unfortunately, you're breaking up. Look, I liked the judicial. We both agree the judicial reform bills were good that went through there. It's still going to be a problem no matter what. But where can folks Unfortunately, I normally ask where folks can find you, and he's breaking up right now.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah. So how can folks find you? What is your website?
It's Ready for Governor, Reddy for governor.com. And we have an AI-based site. It's beautiful. You can ask questions of it. And then you go to policy, and it has my 12-page newspaper in there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ron Reddy for governor on the Tara Show.